February 5, 2017. Trump stunningly brings war to Vatican doorstep as global apocalypse nears. A new Security Council (SC) report circulating in the Kremlin today, composed with assistance from the Foreign Intelligence Service (SVR), states that just hours after Pope Francis cemented his authority over the Order of Malta, Knights of Malta, by naming top Vatican Archbishop Giovanni Basiu to be his special delegate to this ancient order, forces loyal to Freemason leader President Donald Trump struck back by plastering Rome, Italy, with thousands of posters featuring a picture of a stern-faced pontiff with the slogan "Where's your mercy?" and slamming him for beheading of the Knights of Malta, and that Italian police officials are still swiftly and rapidly pasting over with white paper containing the message "illegal advertising." According to this report, and as we've, likewise, reported on many times too, see below linked articles, Pope Francis became enraged when the Knights of Malta anointed Trump during his presidential inauguration, on 20 January. Ordering this ancient order to expel all Freemasons found in its ranks, then when faced with open resistance, ordered the Knights of Malta leader fired, then quickly appointed a known Nazi to head the Knights of Malta, all while the pontiff was being revealed, after the Italian arrest of a top Freemason spy, to be a part of the vast Vatican Democratic Party alliance established to destroy America's new leader, thus causing tens of thousands of U.S. Catholic Church loyalists to plead with Freemason leader President Trump to save us from this Vatican conspiracy. In a further act of defiance beyond these posters against Pope Francis and, by extension, the shadow government, known as the Resistance, seeking his destruction, this report continues, Freemason leader President Trump is scheduled to appear on U.S. television today, and where in answering a question about if he thought that President Putin was a killer, he stunningly replied, "There are a lot of killers. We've got a lot of killers. What, do you think our country is so innocent?" And just hours after giving this interview to be aired today on the Fox News network, this report notes, Freemason leader President Trump then shockingly ordered his European Union ambassador-designate, Theodore Roosevelt Malek, who predicts the euro will collapse in 18 months, to go on Russian television and warn these out-of-touch global elitists that they must not have got the notice that Donald Trump won the American election, and then state, "I don't think it is just Europe. It is certainly the case around the world. They just don't get it, the Davos man is dead." But to the gravest warning message Freemason leader President Trump just sent to all of his enemies, this report says, was his appointing yesterday as his deputy director to the Central Intelligence Agency's, CIA, the most powerful, secretive, and highly dangerous American spy the world has ever known, whose supposed, alleged name is Gina Haspel. No one knows her real name, and no photographs of her are known to exist, has worked undercover for decades, and whose secret CIA prisons scattered all around the world are feared by everyone. Facing tens of thousands of death threats, and calls for a coup against him as riots rage all around America, this report continues, Freemason leader President Trump is now, also, seeing parts of the U.S. federal court system join the shadow government, the resistance against him. And as evidenced by just hours ago a U.S. federal appeals court denying his ban to keep Islamic terrorist assassins from entering into the United States, and that is in direct defiance of 8 U.S. Code Section 1182, inadmissible aliens, that clearly states, whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may by proclamation, and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. Most bizarrely to be noted about Freemason leader President Trump's deliberately misstated Muslim ban, that isn't actually banning Muslims, just ISIS terrorists fleeing from Mosul to 7 failed Islamic states having no central government so they can obtain visas as refugees to the U.S., This report notes, are the many leftists in both Europe and America claiming that this action proves Trump is like Adolf Hitler, without any of these mindless idiots bothering to understand that unlike Trump's nation today where nearly everyone in the world seemingly wants to be, people living under Nazi rule couldn't get out of that country fast enough. To the real, truthful circumstance facing Freemason leader President Trump in regards to these Islamic terrorists he's attempting to keep out of America, however, this report explains, is exactly like that faced by President Franklin Roosevelt in the 1930s, who after surviving the military coup to establish an American fascist regime to be allied with Nazi Germany, called the business plot, led by prominent tycoons and Wall Street big shots who controlled many of the United States' major corporations, like Chase Bank, Maxwell House, General Motors, Goodyear, Standard Oil, DuPont, Heinz, as well as other noted Americans, including Prescott Bush, father of President George H. W. Bush and grandfather of President George W. Bush, still had to face these vicious monsters. And just like President Roosevelt faced off against these evil corporate fascists in the 1930s, this report continues, so too today is Freemason leader President Trump, and whose most strident enemies are the global tech giants of Silicon Valley who are being led by Google, and whose top executives are now privately calling for Trump's impeachment, and shamefully this past week openly mocked Roosevelt by posting on their main search page a Google Doodle tribute to Fred Koremitsu, who fought this World War II U.S. President's executive order on Japanese internment, and that he lost by a 6-3 U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Though President Roosevelt did gain this U.S. Supreme Court victory relating to keeping America safe from Japanese saboteurs during World War II, this report further notes, just like Freemason leader President Trump is facing today, many parts of his U.S. federal court system sided with their business plot master's shadow government against him, which he tried to fight against, but lost, thus causing him to warn in a private letter to his top aide Colonel Edward House, the real truth of the matter is, as you and I know, that a financial element in the large centers has owned the government ever since the days of Andrew Jackson. To two of the most dangerous Silicon Valley financial elements currently arrayed against Freemason leader President Trump, this report continues, includes the messaging site Twitter, who against its own stated policy is allowing to remain over 12,000 death and coup threats against Trump, and the private taxi service Uber, whose CEO Travis Kalanick left Trump's Business Advisory Council while at the same time his company's drivers continue to transport Mexican cartel assassins around what are called sanctuary cities. Should these Silicon Valley globalist elitists, and their allies, be defeated by Freemason leader President Trump, though, as VR analysts in this report write, their monstrous preparations for defeat show them beginning to change all of the stocks in their companies so as to not allow anyone but their owners to have any voting rights, and they're changing the name of the Pacific Ocean island nation of New Zealand to Apocalypse Island, where these super-rich kings of Silicon Valley and Wall Street are buying up vast tracts of its land, in anticipation of the day when they may need to live there due to social collapse or nuclear war. And as to how close nuclear war may actually be, this report warns, is being evidenced in the European Union, EU, that is currently living in the worst crisis since the Cold War and whose President Donald Tusk has just named Freemason leader President Trump's nation one of the most dangerous in the world. As to why Trump's America has now been labeled as one of the EU's most dangerous enemies, this report explains, is due to France becoming the red line these elite globalists will not allow to be breached by Freemason-led populist forces, but where, yesterday, Freemason-supported candidate, Marine Le Pen, kicked off her presidential campaign with a promise to shield voters from globalization and make their country free again, and who is hoping to profit from her nation's political turmoil to score a Donald Trump-style upset. Just like in America where Freemason forces loyal to Trump destroyed Hillary Clinton because of emails, this report continues, so have they. likewise, destroyed Le Pen's chief rival François Fillon, whom 69% of French voters now want to drop out of the presidential race after his, like Clinton's before him, once secret personal scandals have been revealed. With the American propaganda mainstream media now being reported to now be publishing more fake news stories than ever against Freemason leader President Trump, shocking new reports emerging proving that U.S. space and weather agencies totally faked the data, claiming that last year was the hottest ever, the Polish military conducting an unprecedented purge of officers not wanting to start World War III against Russia, violent leftists in the United States now threatening the lives of children of anyone found supporting Trump, Iran now threatening to release the names of U.S. officials who have been funding Islamic terrorists, and the U.S. media failing to tell their citizens that the Trump-Russian dossier has been exposed as a complete fake. This report gravely concludes, it is no wonder that the doomsday clock now sits at its closet leveled to catastrophe than at any other time in history, and with these Western people still being mentally asleep like sheep, virtually no hope remains for anyone unless they soon awaken to the horrors around them.